I finally got Nina here. I think we've probably canceled on each other like 5 times so far. And I found you on TikTok. And I'm so sad because we're not on Invisible Not Broken is not on TikTok anymore, thanks to the Overlord change. So I was really bummed about that because I was loving your channel so much. I'm hoping you'll tell us if you're on a different social media platform, but you caught my eye because I, contrary to popular belief, looking at me, I love fashion. I just like it on other people. And you do such a great job of talking about clothing reviews and how different fashion works when you are using wheelchairs or walkers or other things. And I was like, God, this is such a great channel. I don't get to hear people talk about that. And then I find out you're in the pageant world. And I weirdly got interested in the pageant world thanks to drag queens. So I just want to hear everything from you. So if you want to start, I know most of the disorders you have. I think we share most of them, but you threw in a few extra ones. So if you want to just go through a little bit of your history, that'd be awesome.
Sure. So I am on Instagram too.
Yay!
And I started a Facebook page just specifically for my Miss Wheelchair journey. So that is very sparse right now. But if Facebook is a thing people do still, that exists. But I started those fashion reviews simply because I couldn't find anyone else doing them either. And I was so frustrated because every time I was ordering these, like, they were the outfits that everybody else was looking so cute in, and everybody was talking about them, and you were seeing all the ads for, like, whatever viral skirt or dress or whatever. And then I would order it and I would get it and it would just look completely different on me because I'm a wheelchair user. And I was getting just really annoyed. And so the very first one I did was one of those kind of flop outfits that, like, it just kind of hung differently and it didn't look the same, and I was really frustrated. And so that was the very first one that I did, and it was kind of cathartic to vent about how it looked so different. And people chimed in and they were like, "Yeah, this is true." And so the format of my first couple and the ones that I do now are a little different, but I just really talk about the whole review of what it feels like to be in those outfits as a wheelchair user. And it's kind of the ad. It is an ad, but at the same time, it's the ad that you wish you had if you were sitting down. And I actually am no longer, I was in the TikTok shop program, so I did, like, get paid like the 10 cents or whatever if somebody ordered from that. But then I got my TikTok suspended from the overlords or whatever. They suspended my account and I got kicked out of the TikTok shop program. So now I just do the reviews. And so it's not really an ad anymore, technically, because I'm just doing the reviews now. But I'm still doing them even if I'm not getting paid, because the whole point was that I wanted people to see these clothes sitting down. And that's how I got into the Miss Wheelchair pageant world, which it's not really a pageant, but it is sort of a pageant because it does sound like a pageant.
It
And you asked
does
me
sound
another
very much
question.
like a pageant. So going back to what you're talking about, because I do this a lot, but I never got into the TikTok creator program, and they had already, like, one of my accounts they just deleted with no warning. Just there was no appeals process. Everything was gone in one night because I talked to some Jill Stein voters back in August, and I was nice about it, but I was very like, this is not how we do things. And gone. Again, social media, it's incredibly frustrating because it's such a necessary part of our existence at this point, but they also have full control.
Total
There's
control.
no yeah, there's no recourse at all, especially when you're
Mhm.
talking about things that, you and I are going to talk about, because being disabled is inherently political and it's crazy. I do a thing where I do helper hype because there's so much that gets sold to us as disabled or sick people that you don't know until you try it. And most of the time it's BS and it doesn't work. And what you're talking about, like the fashion stuff, even the stuff that's made for us is insanely expensive. I forget what the bra company is called, but they make adaptive underwear and bras. But they're like $80 a bra. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying they shouldn't charge that. I cannot imagine what their business model is, how hard that is to source, how hard it is with the tariffs. And I'm not saying what they should charge. I'm just saying for me to try this out, it's going to be a big thing. So that's one of the things I loved about you doing this where you were talking about these clothing lines. Is there a clothing line that you're like for me it's Halara, and I hate that it's factory. I hate the quality. The quality is bullshit on these things, but they work for me in the wheelchair. The jeans don't like I'm old enough that I remember the
Mhm.
low-rise jeans with a wheelchair. That is getting naked real fast. Like but the Halara stays on for me and it expands. I think it's about 3 dress sizes. So as my stomach changes shape throughout the day, it doesn't hurt as much.
I reviewed a lot of different Halara dresses, and some of the things that I love about Halara is because they are kind of sportswear. They've got the built-in shorts, and then they come out with the easy peasy. So they had
Oh,
you could pull them down without taking the whole dress off and being naked in the bathroom. There were a lot of kind of accessibility features built in that they weren't necessarily marketing as accessibility features. And again, I don't love the fast fashion aspects of it,
yeah.
and but they were reasonably priced too and somewhat size inclusive. Like there were a lot of things to like about Halara. So we kind of straddle that line of like people get upset because we're kind of looking for cheaper options, which usually does mean fast fashion and things like that. But like we're disabled and we're living a lot of times on like lower income or fixed income and things like that. And like we need those options. And those go back to, some of the arguments that I would get in my comments. Sorry. Where people would like be like
Purity tests all the time.
people would be like, well, you can just tailor these things and tailoring isn't that expensive and things like that. And it's like, why should we have to? And why should we have to spend that money? And like, things like that. And that money adds up and like those kind of things. And like when you can find these affordable options, that matters to disabled people. And so I did really like a lot of the different Halara dresses for being in the wheelchair because there were a lot of features like the built-in shorts, like the pockets on the sides that
Decent size pockets, like real
decent sized
pockets.
pockets that were in a place that you could get to while sitting in the wheelchair, like
Yes. The
those
angled
kind of
pockets.
features, the angles of the pockets and those kind of things. Um, there and again, like the TikTok shop did have a lot of fast fashion, but cheaper options to find things that worked for people with disabilities. And the nice thing about being in that whatever program I was where I could request the free samples and do the reviews is I could try those things out and give honest reviews. And that was the nice thing was there was no requirement for me to say that I liked these things to get them for free. And so I was doing a lot of reviews where I would say these things are not good. Don't I wasn't giving reviews that were all glowing and positive. I would say when things didn't work and I would say when things weren't necessarily great. I had quite a few that had like crazy tassels that were getting caught up in my wheels and like just like, things that just didn't need to be added on and volume for the sake of volume and things like that. There were a lot of things that I learned just through ordering the free samples that I felt like I was sharing and that the comments that I was getting, a lot of people were learning through that journey, which was kind of fun. And so when my original account got taken down, got suspended, I was really disappointed just mostly because I hadn't been saving every single video because I had put up a lot of videos and I lost a lot of those reviews and now like there's just no there's no getting all of them back. So I kind of feel like I have had like a stash of information that I had collected that now I don't have access to anymore. And that's kind of a bummer.
I lost like so much stuff. Like I had done animation. I'm also an illustrator. I'm a children's book illustrator as well. And like I did all these animations that I didn't have saved in other places because it takes up so much computer space to save those. And it just deleted everything. I totally feel your frustration. Is there a brand? Okay, first off, with Halara and other things, just giving people another option. And I'm not into purity politics. I don't agree with any of that. I believe in harm reduction. My harm reduction is I love Halara just because it's the only thing I can wear. So I buy it used. I buy it on Poshmark. So if you're someone who loves, like, yeah, I love that because I can't go into thrift stores in a wheelchair in a thrift store. Are you kidding? Like, there's no way to search through racks or any of that fun stuff that everyone goes and does on like vintage Sunday hauls. I can't do that, but on Poshmark, it's all on an app. You can search by company, by size. It's much easier for me. One of the things I want to ask you about is there a brand that you were like, yeah, this one I haven't had a lot of downsides with it. They seem to get it. And then my other question is, what should companies be adding or subtracting from their clothing to make them accidentally accessible?
I didn't have one brand that I consistently didn't have issues with. Like, there were a lot of brands that I had good experiences with, and then there would be there were definitely brands that, like, I had great experiences with, but not every time. And so I definitely just, like, wouldn't count on it.
Mm.
And it was a trial and error thing, and that was kind of why I loved the free sample aspect of it, because I could try them out and then put it out there like, yep, this one works, this one doesn't. And I think it really does come down to the specific aspects of the almost like the ratio, like it was like a ratio thing of each outfit, because there would be two dresses, and I did a lot of dresses because those seem to be what other female presenting wheelchair users would like shy away from, because they were seem to be like almost like a fear of wearing dresses because of getting them caught in the wheelchair or exposing yourself, or just like there's a lot of like issues that come up when you try to wear a dress as a wheelchair.
Leakage is a big issue with dresses.
Exactly. So I was doing a lot of reviews for different dresses, and it would be like two dresses that when you saw them on the standing models from different brands or even the same brand, and they would look almost identical. And then I would get them and try them on, and they would look completely different. And one was Grace Karen, and the other, I'm trying to think of the brand. I can picture it. It's a green dress that I still have the video from, but the dresses themselves are literally almost identical. But when I have them on as the seated model, like just the ratio of like how high the actual like flared skirt part starts changes everything about how it sits, and how the kind of like dress kind of like makes you look like a cupcake where you're like sitting, and like
Oh my God, that,
it just
yes.
changes everything. And it's probably an inch difference in the bodice part, and you would never know on that standing model, even holding them on the hangers next to each other, like where they sit in my closet. I can see them both. That's why I keep looking over my computer. And the material is very similar, but one is just like slightly thicker, and the one that actually doesn't fit as nicely, it actually seems like a nicer quality dress. So like you would probably like point at that one and be like, that's going to be the better dress. But the other one just looks so much nicer on me as a seated. And again, I am one seated person. So like not everything that looks better on me is going to be the perfect thing for all wheelchair users. But like, it just goes to show you that like they're going to look different on someone seated. So that was kind of how I got into this whole like, these things should be shown on someone standing and someone seated every single time. Like that, it should be universal. When you go to market clothes, you should show them standing and then you should show them seated. Because at some point, that person who's standing is going to sit down, regardless.
Unless it's the Met Gala. Yes, absolutely.
Right. So who does it harm? Who does it harm if you show that dress sitting down in your advertisement, in every advertisement? No one.
It's the marketing mind behind all this is so insanely behind the times. Like, we're still in this era of like fashion looks like this, like on this, and we've gotten a little bit more diversity, but we certainly haven't gotten it in the disability world. We have a few, but not even close. So you look at like the America's Next Top Model, you look at Project Runway. When was the last time Project Runway had a model in a wheelchair on their show?
Season 18.
Yay! And how many? Yeah. And how many times has it ever happened?
So there was
I
one.
love that you know this, by the way, because like I have
I
weird
actually
little
I
like micro focus, and
I
that's
I
awesome.
actually know exactly. So she was a Paralympian. They were doing an episode where they were dressing Paralympians, and they had one of the, there were several different Paralympians with different disabilities, but only one of them was in a wheelchair, and they never had another wheelchair user. I've actually reached out to Project Runway
Oh,
and
that'd be amazing.
suggested that they do, because the thing was with that episode, which I have watched multiple times,
Now I'm going to find it and watch it today.
the designer who designed for it, Nancy, she did an amazing job with her model. She actually changed her whole kind of direction for her career based on that interaction with that model, and she went into adaptive design, which was amazing. And she ended up showing an adaptive design in her final runway as well. So I guess twice if you count that as well. But only one challenge the um had a seated model. And the way that they illustrated in the actual challenge, because there was so much going on, they didn't focus on the actual challenge of dressing a seated model because there was other stuff going on. Like, there wasn't really that focus on what Nancy had to do to dress that seated model. And I think that if they did a challenge that was completely everybody across the board had to dress a seated model, then it would really talk about the different intricacies of
Mm.
what you would have to do, and all of the different things and somebody would fail ultimately, and they would mess up, and there would be things that they would talk about, and they would emphasize all of the different struggles that the designers had to do, and it would bring it to the bigger stage, because really Nancy succeeded, and they didn't even talk about all the things that she had to deal with to dress this model. They kind of just glazed over it because she did so well, and it was just like a thing that happened on the side. Like, it was great, it was cool, it was whatever, but it was just kind of like happening. And so if they did a challenge where all of the models were seated, then really they'd have to talk about the challenge of dressing the seated models and the challenge that the designers would have to face. But they
Tell
didn't.
me about what the challenges are, and tell me what she did right. What were it's I think even I've been using a wheelchair for like 15 years, and even I don't know what I would even ask for. Like, what do I need? I know that I need things not to go into the wheels, and I know I need things that don't like slide down my hips while I'm wheeling. But talk to me about like what are the challenges for designing for the wheelchair, and what did she do that you're like, that's absolutely right? Because I'm thinking of like when they're talking about plus size models, and they're like, you don't just try to make them look skinny. They don't want to be skinny. They want you to show off things and make them feel beautiful. That doesn't mean skinny. And I'm wondering if there's ways that we could adapt fashion where we can appreciate the sitting down look. Like we could design towards the beauty of that aspect of
Absolutely.
it, right? Like like I'm thinking of like the amputees who have those kick-ass, gorgeous, like they're like totally filigreed and designed like prosthetics. I'm like, let's have some fucking fun. What are we
Absolutely.
doing? What are some of the challenges for designing for wheelchairs? And what are some of the things that this person did right and that you would like to see further in more clothing?
I think it definitely depends. It's certainly different runway, obviously, versus functionality
Yeah,
and
two
real
different
life.
worlds.
So she did a runway look, and it was a gown type look. So she actually created this train for the wheelchair that actually hooked onto the back of the wheelchair. And the way that she created it glided behind the wheelchair, and she could maneuver, and it didn't get caught in her wheels. And imagine a bride or bridal looks and things like that
Mm.
where you could have a train, and you you could dance or something like that and not worry about, getting caught up and being maneuverable and things like that. And it could actually come off and be detachable, and then, if you wanted to, so same as a bustle for a bride. So if
Mm.
you wanted to now, go party and be in the midst with your guests and things like that. So super cool, like dramatic type feature for an entrance or something like that. Runway, obviously, something like that. You're not going to walk down the street with the train, but something like that really focuses on like, okay, how can I give this dramatic effect the same way that I would for a runway standing model, but not have her not be able to wheel her wheelchair or spin at the end of the runway the same way somebody else would. So that was a really cool thing that she did for that effect. And then I can't remember if it was that challenge or if it was in her finale challenge that she created like a skirt piece that was also like, so it was detachable, so it went across the model's lap and then could be removed, so it was like a long skirt, but it didn't go under your legs, so it wasn't like you didn't have all of the extra volume of like it wasn't like a huge circle skirt, it was just like the top piece of the circle skirt, if that makes sense. I'm not probably describing it well, but so you weren't sitting on all of the volume, it was just like
Got
the
it.
effect of the volume, if that makes sense.
No, that makes such sense. So what you're saying is like it's more of the oh goodness, what's the word? Why can't I think of words today? They're just like
I never can think of
little
words.
like it's like trying to catch like butterflies. It's like I know what the word even looks like. I can see it. I just can't say it. So it's almost like a Trump. Oh, that we're gonna do French now, right? Because I can't do English. Like almost a pseudo, like you're faking something, you're giving the look and the effect without adding all of the extra stuff. That's really cool. Like there's so much you
Yeah,
can do with that.
and I think, and I actually just yesterday came across, a an adaptive designer whose name I should be able to pronounce. It's a, British designer. I think it's like it starts with an I. They do a raincoat that doesn't have a back, so it has the top half of the back, but you don't sit on any part of it. So you can put it over your you put it around yourself, but you don't have to actually like sit on anything. And then it has the whole front part, so you're still covering, it's a trench coat type coat. And so you're still covering your legs. So same idea, like, it's half of the coat, but you're not dealing with sitting on a wet rain jacket with having it like run down, like all of these things. So there's all of these aspects.
Fun that no one thinks of until you're in a wheelchair and you're like, oh yeah, yeah. This is not gonna go well. Like umbrellas and wheelchairs. I know there's all the clips,
Exactly. You
but
can't
let's be
hold an
real, you just
umbrella.
end up soaked.
Yeah, exactly. You can't hold an umbrella. So there's definitely, so I think for runway, for bridal, like there's certainly different levels of things that for a show like Project Runway, that I'm sure they would come up with all sorts of things that wouldn't really be real life things that we would necessarily need. But there would still, like, I did a video where I talked about like the 5 things that I look for, and where if I wasn't in my wheelchair, I'd be 6 feet tall. And when I wasn't in my wheelchair, I never had to worry about people looking down my shirt while I was talking to them, because I was usually eye level or taller than the person that I was talking to. But now it's a big thing that when I'm sitting and everyone around me is standing, they're usually taller than me and looking down. And so I don't necessarily want something that's like gaping open when everyone above me is like staring down that. And like, I'm not a big chested person, but like, so that's something I'm super conscious of as a wheelchair user. Like, I want to at least know that like that's kind of covered. And like, that's something I'm thinking about when I'm dressing myself. And like, that's something that I would want a designer to think about, that like, I don't necessarily want it. I mean, I'm covered up to my neck right this second, but it's cold. I want someone to think about the fact that people are looking down at me, and that when you're seated, you're cut off at a certain spot. And so you like need to think about how your body looks when you're cut right there. And you also, if you've ever worn a cardigan in a wheelchair, like it like folds funny and like flaps open and doesn't look right. Like it it doesn't fall naturally and elongate you like a cardigan is supposed to do. So like the cropped cardigans definitely look better, but they still cut you funny. So, like, those are things that I'm not a designer, so I don't know how you fix those things. But, like, somebody who is thinking about the human body and thinking about how to make a body look nice would want to consider when they're thinking about somebody that's sitting in a wheelchair and going to be sitting in that wheelchair all the time and or sitting in that wheelchair most of the time when they're designing clothes.
So you said there's 5 things. What are your 5 things?
So for me, the 5 things that specifically with dresses, but the 5 things I'm thinking about are the length of the dress, both whether it's going to be too long or too short because of the wheels, because of wind, because of all of the things, the volume of the skirt, whether it's going to go over the sides of the wheels and, just make it too hard for me to maneuver myself. And then the what I call the bunch factor. So how much fabric gets so when you sit and you're not in like a stretchy material, that fabric doesn't go anywhere. It just like bunches up in your lap. And with some fabrics that doesn't look good, right? Like it just like sits in your lap and it like looks not fun. And then the looking down
Yep.
on my shirt, and then oh my god, I'm blanking on my 5th one.
No worries. So we could talk about shopping for clothes, and if it suddenly comes to you, because that's what always
You will.
happens, just go, I know what the 5th one is. Totally fine. We just had a story go very viral, I think last month, of someone who went shopping for lingerie in the mall. And they're a wheelchair user, and they were shown basically a supply closet with
But yeah,
just stuff everywhere. Talk to me about going shopping for things. I mean, first off, if you don't know, Victoria's Secret is a very big supporter of Mr. Epstein, though just do with that information whatever you will. But also, shopping for clothes in malls I found to be incredibly frustrating, exhausting, and stressful. So I just order everything online now. The last time I went, elevators were broken. No one could tell me how to get to and from different floors. Very similar experiences with being shown basically giant supply closets with no things for transfer. Like I'm very lucky that I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user. I can stand up. It's gonna hurt. I'm going to get hurt, but I can do it. But for someone who can't, there was like no bars there to transfer in and out of the wheelchair to change. What are some of your experiences? Do you have any tips or tricks for going out shopping, or are you gone totally online too?
my 5th thing is the feel.
Yay! I knew I'd get there.
So whether or not there are like zippers or things that I'm going to be leaning against while I'm in my
Oh
chair.
my God, yes. I mean, like with ADD and with mass activation, I can't wear like any of those like plasticky fabrics. I break out in hives.
Yeah, but knew it would come to me. Sorry.
No worries. We don't do perfection here at all. There's
That's good.
no ability to do perfect here.
That's good. So I also have a video. I have multiple videos of similar experiences. My original one is from Target from long before we stopped going to Target.
Yes.
From but similar thing, I was trying to try on a bathing suit, went to open the only, the single accessible stall,
Mm-hmm. The
and it
one,
was,
the only.
yeah, the one, and it was also being used as a storage closet. And when I asked like, "Hey, where am I supposed to change?" and they were just like,
Good luck.
right. So and that's not uncommon. Was, I've been in boutiques where they don't even have options. They only have regular stalls, and the stalls only have like shower curtain type options, and it's just like that's not helpful.
Modesty is not a thing when you're a wheelchair user out in the world, because like they never close all the way. Your wheelchair will back in and like open it to the whole like
Yeah.
store.
Yeah. And I was actually so we went on a vacation this past summer, and it was a beautiful little downtown that we were in, and the whole strip, like every single store had this like curb type step to get into each store.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
It
not
wasn't in California, was it? Because
no,
that's a very common thing over here.
we were in Georgia, and I'm not terrible at like doing my little wheelie thing to get in, but like after you do it like 4 or 5 times, like I'm tired.
Shoulders
And
hurt after a
yeah,
minute.
and luckily I was with some friends and stuff, and like they don't mind helping, but like again, in, you then have to maneuver. And there were certain stores where I felt like I was being treated like a child who was going, like, that they were watching to make sure I wasn't going to break things. Like they were
Uh-huh.
like following me around like I was going to like run things over. And granted, like stuff was so tight, I might have run things over because it was like hard to maneuver around in these places. And it was like I was the first person in a wheelchair some of these people had ever seen. And when I posted a story about this too, and some of the comments on these stories, people were like, "Well, why did you go in?" And
Why did you go shopping in a shopping
right,
area?
how dare you? The audacity. And part of it is like, yes, it wasn't accessible. I made it accessible. Like I decided I was going to go in this store and like made it accessible to me because I could. But like the people are like, well, it's it's not accessible because not a lot of people like they don't have accessible training changing rooms because not a lot of people in wheelchairs go in there. So why would they waste their space like creating them, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, not a lot of people in wheelchairs go in there because you've made it so that not a lot of people in wheelchairs can get in there. Like, you've done that. I came in there because I didn't give a shit and I went in anyway. But, like, if you made it more accessible, more people might come in and then it wouldn't be wasted space. And, like, it's a chain reaction. You see how this, like, works?
Mhm.
And I get a lot of the same kind of comments even about places like Victoria's Secret, places like Target, like places, these big places that are using the storage areas. They're saying the same thing. They're saying like, well, they're not used, so we should use them for more useful space. And it's like, well, you could use a different space, one that anyone could use for that same storage. Like you could take one of the other changing areas and put all that stuff in there. And
Mhm.
then everyone could use the one that's open. And then it's not wasted space.
Or, you're a multi-billion-dollar company, build a storage space.
You could do that. I mean, there's
Or how about a manager's office? I mean, they shouldn't be in their office anyway. They're supposed to be out on the floor. Yeah, it's interesting that it's always the most vulnerable group that's supposed to give the most ground and be the most grateful.
and
Yeah.
that's it's crazy to me how quickly people turn to say like it's a waste. It's a waste to do this. And it's like, well, it's a waste until you need it. And if you needed it, it wouldn't be a waste, right? Because if you were the one who say even I'm not even wishing permanent disability on you, but say you injured yourself and now you needed this resource, then it would be a problem because it wasn't available to you.
Call all the people out of wheelchairs pre-disabled, because I think language matters, and I think reminding everyone that we are a club you will join. You are either
Eventually.
going to have a bad day or you're going to age into us. So it's not something they like to think about, but it's very true, and I keep reminding them and they don't seem to like it very much, but it's important because when we're making laws and policies, if we think in those terms, that this is not a subset of society, this is all of society, at least eventually,
Eventually.
universal design will be the rule. And my least favorite thing is one of my favorite little towns in our area is 100 years old. That's not very fucking old. And they refuse to make any changes. And they treat wheelchair users like shit. Like every time I've gone there, they get so mad at me that they don't want me in their store. They'll be like, no, I'll just show you things. Like, what a great shopping experience. And next time I'm going to say yes, just to waste their time because I'm so furious at this response. But they're always like, we can't change things because it's old. And then I went to Italy, which is significantly older. I went to the Etruscan ruins, which is before Italy. ADA friendly experience I've had in my life was at the Etruscan ruins. Like they managed to hide all of these like lifts inside of hillsides. Like in the hillside, there'd be a lift that was just carved in. And it would just bring you up to the next level. No big deal. Like any of these beautiful buildings where like, apparently we didn't have disabled people 200 years ago. You can actually like fit these little lifts in with the stairs. There's no reason that this can't be a thing. It's just, I think we're dealing with two big policy issues. And one of the biggest ones is we put the cost of that on the business. And I don't think that's right. I don't think as a business owner who's renting space, that should be on you. That should be the city. That should be the person who owns the building should have to bring it up to ADA standards. But you also can't treat people in wheelchairs like crap either. Like the following you around, the telling you they'll just bring things out for you to look at. I'm like, why wouldn't I just shop online then? Like that makes no sense. I do want to talk to you about your Miss Wheelchair experience because it sounds like a pageant, but you're telling me it's not. So tell me about this part of your life.
It's a pageant in the sense that it's like the competition, but it's not a beauty pageant, I suppose, is like, I guess, distinguishing thing. So it's an advocacy, I cannot speak, competition. And so to be the state delegate, there was you have to go through like an application process. There was interview. You have people send in reference letters and nominate you and all of these things. And I was selected for the state of New Hampshire. And then you hold that title for the year. And then there is a actual national competition that's held in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And you go there and it's like a week-long thing where you go with all of the other delegates from the other states, and there's like an actual competition that happens there and to find like the best disability advocate for all of the states who's going to represent Miss Wheelchair America for the coming year, which I don't necessarily think will be me, since there are some like really amazing advocates that participate in this that are just like doing really amazing work and are like, speaking out on the news and like have really big platforms. And I'm just like this tiny little person, making TikTok videos, but it's a very cool experience nonetheless. And I did actually get a crown, which I grabbed so I could show you my crown.
I love that crown. That is definitely an entire vibe.
Right? It is pretty cool. But yeah, so it's a cool experience, and like I'm really looking forward to going for the week, because it's almost like a mini conference, like a mini like disability conference where there's speakers and all sorts of stuff. So I'm really excited about that.
So for you, the networking alone of being able
Yeah.
to talk to other people who are doing big work. And that
It's definitely been a really cool experience, even just so far, to be able to talk about even just my little platform and talk about that. It was a real bummer to lose my TikTok platform. Like literally I got my title and lost my platform the same day. So that was pretty devastating. Not that it was a huge platform, but I had like 9,000 followers at that point and was growing that platform. And then I made the mistake of talking about how pain management for chronic illness patients was suicide prevention. So how dare
Yeah,
I?
they don't like that when we talk about our access to pain management is actually suicide prevention. They
No,
get real upset about that. They're perfectly fine with Kathy Bates going on and doing Matlock and talking about how horrible we all are. That's fine. But when we discuss that our suicide rate has gone up 30%, they get sort of upset about that. Yeah.
yeah. Did you see
Yeah.
that video? There was a video about that there was this nurse that was talking. It was going around for a while,
Huh?
and the nurse that was just real mad about patients going in and their pain scale and whatnot. I did a response video to that, and then that night, gone.
Yeah, I think I got 320,000 views on my response video to her. I was like unfortunately, weirdly, I did not get a slap for that, which was really surprising to me. I thought for sure, and that's the weird thing about the TikTok algorithm is like some people can say and do the most foul things on there. And they're
Right?
like, yes, totally fine. Go ahead and sell that necklace that's very obviously that symbol that the mustache man used to use. That's good. All fine. And then even like things like this where I was probably swearing a lot more than you were in my video. Like I was not holding back.
No, I
And
didn't. Yeah,
you
I
got
didn't swear at
smacked
all.
and I didn't. Like it's so arbitrary there. Like it's
It's
very
totally
weird.
arbitrary. And other people did response videos to her, and like, and so I appealed it, and I So I appealed it 3 times. I appealed it the first time and I was like, "This is bullshit, like, give me my platform back," and they were like, "Nope, denied." And then I appealed it and I was like, "I'm very sorry, I won't do it again, like, whatever," and they were like, "Nope." And then I appealed it and I was just like, "Okay, I've now read through, like, the all of the guidelines. Can you please explain to me, like, which
Hmm.
guideline I technically broke with?" And they were like, "Nope." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
I
So,
mean, I don't necessarily like to point to things as like conspiracy or this is because they are doing this. I almost feel like what it is they rely entirely on community engagement for their decisions. So if you get swarmed with people who are like, "Nope, I don't like that," then they'll just delete you. And it doesn't have anything to do with anything except that there was a targeted group. And it almost seems like that to me. Like, 'cause the thing I got like totally deleted for was just talking about Jill Stein, and I wasn't being mean, but she had quite a lot of very, very big fans that were very active on TikTok at the time. So I don't know. Like it's weird. I'm really excited for Newsom. He's putting a lawsuit to TikTok. So we'll see what happens. It'll be fascinating.
yeah.
These interesting times are exhausting. I'm kind of done with them.
It is it is definitely interesting. It is, like, I probably if I hadn't gotten the title and, like, that wasn't one of my main forms of advocacy
Yeah.
for this platform, like, I probably wouldn't have remade my account just because since I don't like, some of the other delegates, like, they are going out and doing, like, hundreds of events over the over the course of the year, and they're, like,
How
going out in person, and I just don't have the energy to do that, so I make, 2-minute videos and do my advocacy that way. So I feel like I am, that's how I show up.
There's such a big difference, and I don't think that people who aren't in our community realize that there's a big difference between someone who is disabled in an injury with a static issue, and they can actually make plans around that because it's static. It stays the same. The pain stays the same. Their abilities stay basically the same. And those of us who are on chaos mode, where like the idea of going out is something that can change even up to parking, like even up to getting to the like I did the No Kings protest, and that was the first time I've done anything like that. Is this such a question mark of like, how is this going to go? How is this going to go when I'm in the middle of something? Can I easily like leave this area because I'm going to faint or something bad happened or someone jostles me? And
And
it's
especially with things like that, as
yeah.
being in the lower being seated when everyone else is standing, like, it's a scary situation. I mean, it's a scary situation regardless, but, like, people don't realize, like, how that change of change of posture changes
Mhm.
everything.
Or
But
even just sitting still for a long time, or if you have to use public transportation to get to and from places, it becomes a very different proposition. We're getting close to an hour, and I did want to talk about knitting as occupational therapy because
yeah,
I'm now past it. I did pick up knitting and crocheting for my hands. I also picked up close up magic with card tricks for my hands.
that's cool.
It's honestly like if you want to really strengthen up all the fingers and everything, pick up coin magic or card magic. It's even like more than knitting or but you don't get anything pretty at the end of it, but it's super fun and cool and you get to be really nerdy and it does it actually allows you to strengthen up all the little stuff that you can't necessarily get to. And it gives you a
Mhm.
little more like range of motion. But knitting was so freaking fun to just like drop out of the brain and just go into like stitch counts. It was meditation.
I've loved knitting. When my OT suggested knitting, I just kind of stared at her. I was like, "I'm not doing that."
They told me to play computer games. They're like, start playing like Xbox.
So, I probably if she had suggested that, I probably would have been more open to it. Because honestly, when she suggested knitting, I was just like, "I don't know who you think I am, but I am not I'm not doing that." I'm literally wearing the first sweater that
You
I knit.
knitted that? Oh
I
my god,
did.
that's beautiful.
This is the very
I've
first
only been able to handle scarves. I am so impressed.
but but I was so, like I was like, "I'm not doing that." And then I don't know, probably because I'm a people pleaser, and so when I was like, "I have to at least try what she said," because I feel like if I don't at least try everything that my doctors are suggesting, then I have not tried everything that the doctors are suggesting. So, like, I have to at least give it a try. So I ordered, like, it was a infinity scarf kit, and it came with the needles, it came with the yarn, and it came with, like, the little instructions, and it was, like, just, I think it was, like, actually advertised for, like, children. It was like a learn to knit kit, and I sat down and I was like, "I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna do it begrudgingly, and then I'm gonna be able to say that I did it and then tell her I'm not doing this anymore." And I was, like, halfway done with this scarf, and I was like, "Am I enjoying this? Like, what is wrong with me?" I was hooked. I don't know why. And then
I
I
love
went
the use of "I was hooked." That was good.
I did, and I ended up I went a little crazy. I ordered all sorts of needles, I ordered all sorts of yarn, and then I now it's basically what I do all day because I don't do anything else with my time. But the nice thing is, for whatever reason, some of the other things that I like to do that I enjoy, like, I like to read, I like to listen to audiobooks, but they tire me out. They affect my brain fog. I get very tired. The knitting, especially certain projects, like when I'm doing a sweater or something like that, my brain fog, I that does come into play. But if I'm doing something like a scarf where I can just, like, literally go back and forth and I don't have to actually think, like, I can check out and my hands can just go, and it is so relaxing to just have something my hands can do without having to think about it. And you do have that sense of accomplishment at the end where, like, you have this finished product. And I don't have a lot of other activities that I can have that finished product at the end.
Mm.
And there's that was missing from my life because I was a doer. I liked to do things and have that finished product, but, like, I was too tired to do a lot of things. So the knitting has been, like, a nice thing that gives me a sense of accomplishment, and it's been strengthening, or I assume it's been strengthening my hands, and it hasn't been hurting my hands the way that I thought it was, because I really thought it was gonna hurt my joints. The first few days, my I was sore, and I was ashamed to say that I was sore because I was like, all I'm doing is knitting and I shouldn't be this sore. But, like, these little, like, muscles in my forearms or something were, whatever those muscles are, they were tired. But I must have made them strong because now they're not tired.
It's so hard with disability and chronic illness to figure out, like, what is just muscle building and, like, the stuff that, like, when you were healthier and you went to the gym and you're like, "Oh, that was a sore leg
Mhm.
day." And that's, like, stuff you kinda want, and what's, like, the start of a flare is always, like, the big question. We're closing on an hour, and I have a I'm switching up my questions. I always ask, like, "What's the thing you bought under $100?" But you just answered that with the knitting kit. What's the book that you would hope that everyone reads? If you could, like, magically hand a book to everyone in the world, do you have a title for that?
I have read a lot of really good books recently. There is a book, oh, I'm gonna screw up the title. It is I can kind of see it across my eyes aren't that good, and so I can't actually I could see it on my shelf, but, like, I can't actually see what the title is.
Do you remember what it's about?
Yes, The Invisible Women.
That sounds
And
good.
it's a study about all of the ways that women were left out of different science studies, and research, and it was very well done and talks about all of the different ways that we still don't know things about us in medicine.
Yeah, if you are unaware of this little fact, almost all medicine, any procedures, they were all tested on male bodies. They were not tested on female bodies. There is so much we still don't know. I think it was last year they found out that the stem cells in period blood is better than stem cells in cord tissue. Like,
Mm,
the amazing science that we have missed out on for a millennia because of misogyny is truly mind-boggling.
and that book, dives into a lot of those different things, and the different things that, like, even things down to, like, test dummies that we weren't there were no female test dummies. We were just making male test dummies
Yes.
smaller, things like that.
Which is why women die at a much higher rate in car accidents than, and why it took like what it was like 10 years ago I started hearing about how we experience strokes and heart attacks completely
Completely
differently, which
differently.
is why we die from heart attacks. But yeah, being a woman in this world is a very dangerous
Yeah.
proposition.
And that
Oh,
because
I'm gonna have to read that. That sounds really good.
and CPR, they're not CPR dummies don't have breasts, so people are tempted not to do CPR on women because they're afraid of our breasts.
They're very scary. I mean, let's be honest, like they cause so many problems.
I
I
mean,
can't
yeah.
thank you enough for all of your time. Can you let anyone know how they can support you?
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok for now until they throw me off again. And Instagram at Miss, like just MS, wheelchair, New Hampshire 2026, all spelled out like that.
Excellent. I'm going to go follow you on Instagram because I was definitely a big fan on TikTok. So I will find you over on Insta. Thank you again so much for your time. I hope you'll come back. Feel free anytime when you're doing a new competition just to come back and remind everyone to support you.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. Well, everyone, be kind, be gentle, and whatever it looks like to you, be fierce. This has never been more important than right now. We are trying to do more episodes. So if there are topics you would like us to cover, I say us, but it's now just me. If there's more topics you'd like me to cover, please let me know. I only know what I know. So have a great month, everyone. I'll see you next.
It's great to talk to you.